and welcome back to the Citytilidie channel. Hope you're all staying safe and well. And part two, yes, part two of keeping City safe. And we're looking at a guy, guys of a certain age like me remember watching Harry Dowd, my first real hero. Yeah, probably was a hero. Certainly my first real City memory as a goalkeeper for Manchester City. Anyway, Harry Dowd, he took over, of course, from Bert Trautmann, who I did watch in a testimonial at some stage years later, but obviously at the time I had no recollection of Bert Trautmann playing between the sticks, as I say, when I first started going in the Platt Lane stand with my dad in the mid-60s. Part one, we'd finished with a struggling City, yes, a struggling City, though, that had parted company with a manager, George Poyser. Of course, Harry is sort of battling for this number one spot, even though Trautmann wasn't there. Obviously, he would have to do that for the rest of his career at City. And of course, he was battling with a certain Alan Ogley at that time for the number one spot. So please, we're going to part two have a look at things. Things do get worse, but do get better. So obviously, up and down for old Harry. So join me as we look at the continuation from the 65-66 season. Right, please, if you are new to the channel, push that subscribe button. If you've already subscribed, keep spreading the word, guys. Much appreciated. And do City past, present, and forever, of course. Give us a thumbs up or a like, or whichever source you're watching this on. If you can spread the word, you make an old City fan very, very happy. So we had, of course, the dawn of the new, well, what would be a glorious time for us before recent times, of course, as I'm recording this, but the Mercer-Allison regime, obviously from 65-66. If Harry Dowd himself had particularly got on very well with George Poyser, he had a couple of problems which we hinted at in the first part, or mentioned in the first part. There appeared to be at least immediate respect between him and his new manager, Joe Mercer. Harry said, "I recall the season vividly. Joe and Malcolm had us organised from the outset, and once we had consolidated at the top, there was never any real danger that it would not go up." Harry started his most games that season, his most prolific performances that season, his most appearances in all the time he was at City. He started an incredible 47 games in this second division championship winning season. And we also managed to get to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup as well. Of course, getting back to the First Division was a priority. But, of course, we put a couple of First Division teams out. And it took Everton, one of the big boys then in the First Division, 3 games to get rid of us at the quarterfinal stage. So that all bode well for the future as well. We won the league by not a massive amount, but obviously don't forget it was only 2 points for winning those days. We won the league by 5 points. And Joe Mercer himself paid Harry the highest compliment by naming him as the key figure in City's success that season. Back in Division 1, yeah, for the 66-67 season, again, he found his appearances a little bit stymied. As I said, he did have a lot of little niggly injuries, and in this level of football at this stage, a lot of key players, a lot of players who would have played every single game if they got the chance. The only time you ever lost a place was if they got injured and then someone come in and did an half-decent job, and that was certainly the case when in Harry Dowd's day. He would actually go on to make 28 appearances in the 66-67 season, our first season back in Division 1, of course, a season of consolidation, really. And his nemesis, who at the time was Alan Ogley, made 22, so a pretty even split between them. And then we'd go on to the 67-68 season, of course, which will be a glorious one as far as City was concerned. But yeah, a bit of a disaster for Harry Dowd, this one. Alan Ogley played the first couple of games, and then Harry Dowd stepped in and managed to notch up 8 games, including a cup game, before injury struck again. And then obviously, when he found his place was going to be taken, not by Alan Ogley, he'd been swapped, yeah. I mean, obviously, Joe Mercer and Allison had seen a keeper that they fancied a little bit more than Ogley, and it was a Ken Mullen. It was a straightforward swap from Stockport. Ken Mullen was a Scouser, I think, and it was just a basic swap. Ken Mullen for Ogley. Ogley went to Stockport, and Ken Mullen came to City. So it wasn't Ogley competing now. It was a totally different kettle of fish. It was Ken Mullen actually competing with Harry Dowd for that number one spot. So, Mullen then played every other game that season. It was as simple as that. Harry Dowd didn't feature at all, apart from a League Cup appearance in November. That was it. Ken Mullen cemented the spot and played in every single game. And Harry found himself playing for the reserves in the rest of this historical season for City as we got our second league title, of course. He did make the front cover. That was unusual in those days. The match day programmes, there's a there'll be one on there which showing this cover. But obviously, it was just basically a City sort of player on a sky blue background. That used to be the match day cover. But Harry Dowd actually made the match day programme, which was rare in itself, on this sky blue cover for the City Sheffield United game on the 16th of September. As I said, there was normally no action pictures, and it was a sort of small action shot of him diving in a game. Dowd initially missed out on the championship medal, of course, because you had to start it certainly had to start more than 5 games. He started 7, but obviously that wasn't enough in those days. Of course, recently that's been altered now, so he's actually got, there'll be an image on screen, he's actually got his 67-68 medal now, because it's all been granted to players, of course. Him and 3 other players, well-known players, did a feature on that, certainly last year. Obviously, as long as you're featured in 5 games, you're entitled to a championship medal, which thankfully, obviously, posthumously, he got that fairly recently. In 68-69, though, things were going to change. So, as well as Mullen, unfortunately for Harry, although I say it didn't bother him that much, we also had a young 6'4" keeper called Joe Corrigan, who also came into reckoning. So, not only did he have Ken Mullen to contend with, but he had this pretender Joe Corrigan as well, who did become my real first City goalkeeper in here, a legend, I can honestly say that. But he did manage 27 league games that season, so not too bad. But that wasn't where we're going to remember him for, Harry Dowd, because he importantly played in all 7 of the FA Cup games, including replays, of course, including the FA Cup final. As I say, the victory over Leicester City, which cemented him in my mind as my favourite keeper of the late 60s for City. He'd again grown disenchanted, though, with his lack of games the season before and this season. And City had stuck a price tag on him. Yeah, he'd gone on the transfer list, but they're asking £40,000. And this put Harry's nose a little bit out of joint. Yeah, so it was far too high. So obviously they never got any takers for that amount of money, so he stayed. But he did get he played 27 appearances in the league, and he did get his chance back in the first team because Malcolm Allison, as Malcolm Allison did, or Joe Mercer, I think probably more Malcolm Allison, was very unhappy of Ken Mulhern's performance against Fenerbahce, of course, in the European Cup. And we hadn't been doing that well in the league. We were sort of 2 or 3 from the bottom at that stage. So, of course, Mullen was dropped by Allison, who blamed Mullen certainly for the European Cup exit. And, of course, Harry got his chance again. And Harry took full advantage. As I say, it was dead man's shoes in those days in certain positions, and he took full advantage. We've been struggling in defence, of course. We had, but obviously we did improve slightly with Harry in there, although we didn't have a great season as far as the league was concerned. But obviously he managed to keep, in 7 FA Cup games, he managed to keep 6 clean sheets out of the 7 games, which was quite amazing at that level of football at that time. And he only conceded 1 goal, and that was in a 5th round victory, 4-1 over Blackburn. Yeah, so back to a team he'd made his debut against, of course. Dowd himself commented that although playing at Wembley was his career highlight for most of the players, as far as pure emotion and tension was concerned, it was a semi-final with Everton that had all that. It was, for him, atmosphere-wise, was far bigger, but obviously his career highlight had to be winning the FA Cup. Little did he know that when he lined up in a 1-0 home win after this, we've still had 3 or 4 league games to play after the 1969 FA Cup final. Little did he know when he lined up in a 1-0 home win against Newcastle in front of just 20,000 fans. Yeah, come on, where are you, boys? 20,108 fans on the 5th of May 1969. That it would be his last first-team game in front of the main road fans. In the 69-70 season, it was bit despondent. Dowd lost his first team place again and was totally dismayed as to why. It hadn't been really explained to him. He even missed out, of course, on the curtain raise of the Charity Shield in a defeat against Leeds United at Ellen Road. Yes, and who'd stepped in? Yep, certainly not Ken Mullen. No, young Joe Corrigan had become the go-to guy as far as Allison, and I assume Mercer had responsibility at some stage, but I'm sure again Allison decided that it was Corrigan's time now to come good and play for the first team. So he was the man who played in that game and obviously would take Harry Dowd's spot. And of course, Harry Dowd and Ken Mullen would be left to battle for the scraps as far as goalkeeper was concerned with the reserve team keeper spot. He said at the time, all he was told, I assume again by Malcolm, it was horses for courses, and he had no idea what that meant, or as far as he was concerned. But he didn't seem to hold. Obviously, we knew he took offence at things. He didn't hold any long-term grudges. Let's say he might have been a bit pissed off at the time, but he certainly won't hold a long-term grudge. And he remembered his time at City very fondly, especially the camaraderie with his fellow players. Perhaps not with his managers and coaches, but certainly with the players. He actually spent 2 months on loan at Stoke City, being used as cover for the greats, or ageing them, but the greats, of course, Gordon Banks, making 3 appearances for the Potters. And it would be the last 2 games of the 69-70 season before Harry got a look in at the first team. A 3-1 win against Leeds, ironically at Ellen Road. And his final first team Manchester City appearance was against Sheffield Wednesday in the final match of the 69-70 season. And again, another win at Hillsborough, 2-1 win. So he'd missed out on playing any. Don't forget the 69-70. We had quite an achievement that season, didn't we? He'd missed out on playing any of the League Cup games that we won. He'd missed out on playing any of the Cup Winners' Cup games, which we'd won. Ken Mullen had actually managed to get an appearance in that. Sadly, Harry Dowd didn't. Oh, and we did win the 5-a-side national trophy as well, but Joe Corrigan was in the net for that. So we actually did a treble that season. Again, I did a little vlog on that a year or so ago now. So, yeah, he actually missed out on that sort of unique treble. But he was featured, happily stood in the back row with the 70-71 squad picture, which, of course, had both the League Cup and the Cup Winners' Cup sat in front of us. And we never managed to do that again, did we? We've done a lot of things, certainly recently, but we never managed to win both the Cup Winners' Cup and the League Cup in the same season. Well, mainly because they did knock the Cup Winners' Cup on the head. In December 1970, he was transferred to Oldham. And the City programme Boxing Day did give him a mention. It wasn't the big thing in those days to give too much column space for parting players, but he did get a mention, the programme on Boxing Day 1970 against Huddersfield, just a small column. In the round and about column, this was called, including a mention, of course, of the goal he scored that we talked about in part 1 against Bury. And that he was very good. It's been mentioned before in programmes over the years when I was looking back. He used to play head tennis in that gym, that very well-known gym under the main stand at Main Road, and he was very good at that. So there were comments that he was good at that, the popular game in the City gym, and that was about it. There wasn't any big fuss about it, all right. He'd gone, and that was all. It wasn't going to have any testimonials or anything like that. But that was quite normal for its time, and even now, a lot of players who leave don't get much space in the actual official programmes. It's only in other things you get mentioned. So at City, in the time he was there, which was quite a long time, he made 181 league appearances, which doesn't sound much, but as I said, it was dead man's shoes in those days, and there's 2 or 3 quite handy goalkeepers knocking around, so he didn't have it all his own way. 181 appearances, but he did get a goal, which was unusual for a keeper, of course. He played 22 FA Cup games and 16 League Cup games, a total of 219 appearances for City, which isn't bad, is it? That was okay. And I say, to me personally, he'll be remembered fondly, of course, for what he was. I say he had big shoes to fill, literally taking over from the German legend, although it didn't really mean much to me at the time, having never seen Bert Troutman in his pomp, if you like. But he did a great job. I thought he did a great job, and possibly certainly would have played more if he hadn't been picking up these little injuries. As I said, he was certainly good enough to hold down his first team place. But he kept breaking his thumb and his fingers. Anyway, what's a goalkeeper to do? He keep doing things like that. But obviously, we had other good keepers in and around at the time. I haven't even mentioned Ron Healy was another one who was around at this stage, who, of course, in either part 1 or part 2. He was around. So I said there was always other keepers that took the chances and come in. But there's not many keepers, and this is where Harry Dowd stands out. Might be 1 or 2 now over the years, but there certainly wasn't many keepers that could claim to have kept net and obviously scored a goal as a replacement number 8, is there? So that's what mostly he's remembered for, but I just remember him as a bloody good keeper. Sadly, of course, Harry Dowd passed away in 2015. Let me know, guys, you got any memories of him? As I say, I do, even though I can't say, yes, I remember this game, I remember that game. I remember that he was my first real City memory. And let me know your thoughts, your memories. Did you chat to the guy? Did you anything like that? I say he sadly passed away 7 years ago as I'm recording this. But let me know your memories. But thank you for joining me for this little Keeping City Safe feature featuring Harry Dowd. Yeah, my first real City goalkeeping memory, and why not? First City goalkeeping legend for me as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Please, until we meet again, stay safe, Blues. Come on, City. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.